Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about a homeowner who discovers her neighbors using her privacy fence as target practice with BB guns, damaging her property and terrifying her dogs. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My neighbor is using my fence as target practice. I, 30-year-old female, live in Knoxville, Tennessee with my 2 dogs in a house I bought about 2 years ago. The main reason I chose this place was the giant backyard, fully fenced with a 6-foot privacy fence, perfect for my dogs to run around safely. The house is on a corner lot, and the backyard faces the side street with my neighbors living directly across from it. For months, I've noticed the guy across the street and his son, maybe 12 years old, shooting some sort of air rifle in their yard. It seemed harmless at first. They'd set up targets in their front yard and shoot at them for hours, but every time they did, my dogs would bolt inside, absolutely terrified. They're not usually bothered by loud noises like fireworks or thunderstorms, so I started to wonder if something more was going on. I had my suspicions, but they were confirmed in the worst way imaginable a few days ago. Driving home after running errands, I noticed something new on my fence, a target. They had attached a literal target to my fence, which is completely on my property. When I got out of my car to take a closer look, I realized it was far worse than I thought. The target had been riddled with hundreds of pellets or BBs, and my entire fence was peppered with divots from months of their shooting. Furious and scared, I called the police. 2 officers arrived quickly. They looked at the damage and agreed it was a serious issue. They crossed the street to talk to the neighbors, leaving me standing by my fence, anxiously watching from a distance. After a few minutes, one of the officers came back and gave me a bizarre summary. Yeah, he's an interesting character with a unique perspective on property boundaries, the officer said, clearly choosing his words carefully. What does that even mean? I asked, frustrated. This isn't a boundary issue, it's my fence on my property, and they're using it as a target range. The officer nodded, but before I could say more, the other cop came over and said something about the neighbors claiming it was just ricochet from their shooting. That's when I pulled out the photos I'd taken of the target still attached to my fence. Oh, one of the officers said, eyebrows raised. That's definitely intentional. Hang on. They headed back over to the neighbors, and I overheard bits and pieces of the conversation from across the street. Sir, this is private property. You're not allowed to shoot at her fence under any circumstances. The neighbor's voice rose in response. It's just a fence. It's not like we're aiming at her house. It's a solid fence. It stops the pellets just fine. The officer wasn't having it. That's irrelevant. You're damaging her property and creating a dangerous situation. Despite the police intervention, the neighbors weren't deterred. Just a day later, they were back at it, shooting in their front yard as if nothing had happened. My anxiety hit a new level. Not only were they damaging my property, but now they knew I'd called the cops on them, and I was terrified of retaliation. I decided to take the next steps. I filed a police report to document the ongoing damage, contacted a lawyer to explore pressing charges, and got a security camera system installed to capture everything happening around my property. A few days later, the police came back to update me. We've issued them a formal citation, one officer said. If they don't stop, we'll escalate it. It was a small win, but it wasn't enough. So sent the neighbors a formal cease and desist letter through my lawyer, threatening legal action if the shooting continued. The turning point came a few weeks later. I caught the neighbor's son shooting my fence again. I calmly walked outside, phone in hand, and told him to leave immediately or I'd call the cops again. The father came out moments later, furious. What the hell are you doing yelling at my kid? He shouted. I'm protecting my property, I shot back, and if you don't stop this nonsense, I'll take you to court. That was the final straw for them. They stopped shooting entirely after that. Maybe it was the legal threat, or maybe they just got tired of dealing with me. Either way, my dogs can now enjoy the backyard without fear, and my fence remains intact. It took months of stress, but I finally stood up to them and won. Sounds like crazy neighbors, but it's nice to hear they've stopped messing with your life. And our second story. The broken lawnmower. Where I worked, we had options that they wanted us to use instead of normal returns, such as repair options. Example being, if someone bought a staple gun and it wouldn't run when we test it, we can give them a loaner and take the item in for repairs as long as it's within a certain time frame of the purchase. Most customers didn't like this option for many reasons, but the main one is that they couldn't get free items that way. This was super common, and I think in the year and a half that I worked returns, only one person took me up on the repair option. The rest went with either, just give me my cash back, or the ever-classic, I want a new one of the same thing. The first was easy to do, the second required a manager approval, even with a receipt, and they would try to talk them into doing the repair option, but that never worked. Anyway, I had one customer, though, that knew of our repair policies and did his best to get around it and get a new mower each year. Since he would return the mower before the end of the applicable return policy, he would talk the managers into giving him a new mower for free each year, even before he got me the first time around. I still don't know how this is a good business policy, if he's essentially stealing from us and never paying, but they told me to do it anyway, so I did. But the following year, I was a little wiser to his and others' schemes and had gotten good at talking customers either in circles or fixing the problem so they couldn't complain. So the man walks in with his mower, or what I think is a mower, as it's so bogged down with dead and dried up grass I can barely see the red paint underneath. He does his normal, I was mowing with it and it just stopped, I want a new one. I offered him the repair option, but he doesn't want to hear about it, so I go, well, sir, I do have to inspect it first before I can return it. Do you mind if I take it outside while I do that? He's confused, but lets me do so. I've repaired my old mowers so many times at home now that I could pretty much be a mechanic for them somewhere, but this one was a different case. After cleaning it, I checked the sparks, normal problem, starter, they're good, practically pristine. I checked power connections, they good, motor, good and well-oiled, startup components, nice and well-tuned. I can't figure it out, till I pop the gas cap. Damn thing's bone dry. I rolled my eyes. I come back in after roughly 10 minutes of checking, and he goes, can I just get a replacement mower for it now? But me being wise to him, make an offer. Sir, I bet I can get it started in a minute. If I can, will you take it back? I guess, but what? I don't let him finish as I pull a plastic gas carton out from behind my desk, one we use for filling up replacements, and put a little in the tank, prime the motor, and bam, it's up and running like new again. Here you go, sir. It seems to be running just fine now. Can I help you with anything else today? He just stared at it, dumbfounded for a couple of seconds, before quietly wheeling it back out to his truck. To this day, I wondered if he never thought I'd try to refuel it first. It's pleasant to imagine this dude walking around and around the yard, the grass already cut, but just pushing it around, waiting for the tank to empty. And our last story. How I took my driveway back from aggressive family. A few years ago, I was renting the bottom floor of a 2-story house in a busy beach town in Florida. The house was just a short walk from the water, maybe 150 yards away, and during tourist season, the area was packed. Parking was always tight. I shared the driveway with 4 college guys renting the upstairs unit. The driveway fit 4 cars, so someone always ended up parking on the grass or in a paid lot nearby. Since I worked early mornings, I usually left the driveway for the upstairs guys and used a city-issued parking pass for a nearby paid lot. It wasn't ideal, but it worked. Tourists, though, made everything chaotic during summer. One morning, I was running late for work and didn't leave the house until almost 8 a.m. The driveway was empty since the upstairs guys had already left. As I walked to my car, a minivan pulled into the driveway. Out stepped Karen and her husband, along with 3 loud kids running around like they owned the place. I approached them. Excuse me, do you know the tenants upstairs or have permission to park here? Karen brushed me off. It doesn't matter. Nobody's parked here, and our kids need to get to the beach. Me. There are 5 of us living here, and we need the driveway? Her husband smirked. Oh yeah? Then where's your car? You're just mad we figured out how to park for free. Me. My car's in a paid lot because I leave the driveway for the other tenants, but this is private property and you can't park here. Karen snapped, we're on vacation and you're ruining it for our kids. Do whatever you want. As they walked off toward the beach, I called out, all right, I'll have your car towed. You can deal with it later. Her husband stormed back, getting inches from my face. Try it and you'll regret it. This isn't even your house. You're just some little crap renting here. Me, staying calm. Got it. Have a nice day. Once they left, I went inside and called a towing company from the other side of town. Hi, I need a car towed that's illegally parked on my property. Tow truck driver, that's pretty far, but if you're not paying, that's their problem. We'll be there in an hour. I called my boss, explained the situation, and he laughed, telling me to handle it. The tow truck arrived around 10:30 a.m. and the minivan was gone. I parked my car in its place and waited for the inevitable. Around 2 p.m., there was a furious banging at my door. I opened it to find Karen and her husband, red-faced and shouting. Karen, where's our van? Me, holding a beer and smiling. Oh, I had it towed. Here's the card for the tow company. Good luck with that cab ride. I shut the door in their faces. They banged and yelled some more, with her husband eventually trying to force his way inside, shouting about how he'd kick my butt and have me arrested. I shoved him out and locked the door. About 30 minutes later, Officer Ramirez, a local cop I knew, knocked on the door. Officer Ramirez. Hey, what's going on? Me. They parked in our driveway without permission, refused to move, so I had their van towed. Karen. He stole our van. Arrest him. Her husband tried pushing past the officer again, but Ramirez grabbed him and pinned him against the car. Officer Ramirez. Sir, you're trespassing. OP, would you like to press charges? Me. No need, just keep him in the car until they get a cab. The family waited for a cab until about 5 p.m., all while I enjoyed a beer on the upstairs porch. Needless to say, they never came back. They're lucky not to have more charges added onto the trespassing one, and found out the hard way that a free parking spot is pretty expensive. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.